fans of Comic Book Lab 101. Today we're going to discuss the series Justice League versus the Suicide Squad and why we picked such a series to go over together. So today we're going to discuss Justice League versus the Suicide Squad, and what better series to start together than a series that brings two different generations together. My generation grew up with more of the Justice League of America, the Supermans and the Batmans, the Wonder Womans, all the household names that we've all come to know regarding comic books. And then recently, now even though the Suicide Squad's been around for a while, you'd have to agree it's picked up some momentum with recent comics and video games, as well as the latest movie and some of the popularity that has brought that to our attention in the comic book world. Now, with that said, we're going to discuss the DC Rebirth Justice League versus Suicide Squad. And I think within this series of comics, we're going to be able to pick out certain characters, certain flaws, maybe even some things we really like about it, and discuss it together, not only here on the YouTube channel, but also in other areas within our social media format. So let's do that together. You'll notice the artwork on the cover page. Well done. I do like it. Of course, Batman seems to be stealing a lot of the momentum in comics today. He has become very, very popular. And we've noticed that Harley Quinn, on the other hand, has done the same. We look forward to getting introduced to this comic within the darkness of some kind of prison, I guess. But what I find funny about this first few frames is how every time the guards seem to let their guard down and then someone enters a facility of high security. As we progress, we see that this individual wants to recruit some prisoners and bring together a team that's going to cause a great deal of stress and mayhem to this Justice League. And of course, like most comics, you have some gore and some things that bring the villain out in most scenes. So here we have some villains walking away, and they are getting an opportunity to be introduced, yet we do not know who they are. Now we have the Suicide Squad being brought to our attention. Very good artwork, by the way. You see the team in action, and of course there's Waller introducing us to Caitlin Snow, who apparently is a new team member, and then Rick Flag seems to be a little upset that he's not on this particular mission. Now, looking also at the opportunity here together to see the Suicide Squad in action. I'm not a big fan of theirs because it doesn't seem like they do much teamwork. They look like a bunch of individuals, and they just happen to get the job done. Harley Quinn is another one of those individuals, despite what I may feel about her, has become very popular, and yet she still seems crazy as ever when I recall her being in the Batman series back in the days of the 90s in the TV series. But with that said, excellent introduction. I like the way Batman brings out the beginning of this concern the Justice League has with the Suicide Squad. And of course, you have the team gathered around discussing such things. Also, by the way, I do like the fact that there are multiple Green Lanterns and how they have been introduced to this series as well. So Batman and the Justice League discussed what they're going to do in reference to the Suicide Squad. I, for my part, see this being sort of a way of two worlds coming and colliding together, yet I'm not quite sure how they're going to come together. I just know they will. Now we go back to the fight scene. We see the Suicide Squad trying to make heads or tails out of their assignment. Of course, they're going against a foe who thinks he is on top of the world. And then, of course, Deadshot comes in at the very end of most assignments that I feel they get involved in and saves the day. So with that said, now the team sees like they feel like they've gotten the job done. The world is going to be saved, so to speak, and then the building starts to topple down. Deadshot's caught on top. I do like this scene. And as the team stands with nothing to do but watch the building fall, Deadshot says to himself, "That's it. Lights out for me." Great scene. Looks at his child and at that point begins to think, I'm just going to take one for the team. Now, this next story arc typical, Superman flies in, saves the day, and now we're going to see the two teams come together in what should be a wild get together, you could say. So as the Justice League cleans up the conditions found by this damage concerned by the tremors caused by the earthquake, we see the team is flying in. And of course, some of the verbiage between the two teams is interesting, and a great story art here where the Justice League pops in, all members on hand. And you would think, I have to say, I do like the Batman outfit, by the way, that now they are going to clean up the mess, both what the Suicide Squad caused and, of course, the Suicide Squad. Well, of course, the Suicide Squad's going to have nothing to do with that. So they are going to have this conversation, which we as comic book lovers love to read and see the words go back and forth instead of just getting down to business right away. And who better to chime in than Harley Quinn in this frame here? And of course, the Justice League, calm as ever, stands in, ready to take and mop up on the suicide. But instead, we have more verbiage, continue back and forth. I like the way Simon makes the point about the Boomerang, and of course, Boomerang chimes in. And now we have some heated discussion. Deadshot, of course, chimes in with Waller. Are we going to make a decision here? What are we going to do? Are we going to get this done? Are we going to move on? And of Waller being the type of person that she is, and we all have come to know her as the Dark One who makes very, very evil decisions, even though she says she is of the law and is seeing to it that her government's interests are carried out. She has no regard for life. Deadshot points his gun at Batman. Big mistake. Batman reminds him, you better not do that. And of course now Deadshot makes it clear that they have nothing to lose and they are going to go at it. So there they go. They go at it one-on-one, and the teams disperse and begin to have it out against one another. Now all the while this is going on, the purpose behind this, Justice League doesn't want to see the Suicide Squad left unchecked, and the Suicide Squad doesn't want to go back to prison, or in some cases have their head blown off knowing they have a device in their head that Waller had put in there in case they were to defect. So this battle is short in this series because we are brought to the attention of who we're going to be dealing with later down the series. And this is where we'll start to ask some questions, because some of the things brought to our attention here are kind of odd. The type of team that have been brought together to fight the Suicide Squad. I thought it was going to be more against the Justice League, admittedly, but this team of evil villains is brought together to simply eradicate Waller and her misfits of the Suicide Squad. But there's some heavy hitters there. And then, of course, we find out who their leader is, and that's going to take some research on my part because he's never really had a big role in some of the comics I've read. But Maxwell Lord has gotten some, I guess you could say, some fame with his recent introduction in the Supergirl series. So we'll have to see exactly what this is all about. So there you go. Our first opportunity together to discuss an issue together. We have lots of questions to go over. And so we're going to stop here with this information, give you an opportunity to chime in on our YouTube channel, ask us a few questions, maybe even make some input about what you thought about the video, as we look forward to getting an opportunity to do this more. And again, explore the world of comics together. And we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for chiming in today.